Well, hello, how are you? Suzanne here. I'm the weight loss coach. And today is a very real, raw and personal video about my journey with eating disorders. And I haven't really prepared anything other than the words that I put on paper the other night, and they just went brrr, and I just popped them all down. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Dee and Kerry, lovely to have you. And if you do have any questions, please pop them in the comments. I would love to be able to address them. And because I guess I want this. Hey Susan, Sue, how are you? Thanks so much for watching. Because I would love this to be, a space to share safely, and I'm really emotional about the whole thing, which is a good thing, because it brings up something that needs to be healed. And when we have these emotions and these feelings about things, that they are a message to us to go, okay, there's something that you need to work on here. And I'd never really thought about it. I'd stuffed it away, and my eating disorders were not the reason I started as a weight loss coach. The reasons that I started doing what I do is because of my health and taking my health for granted. And I had experience working with other women and men, to help them to be the fittest and healthiest versions of themselves. But I never really, and it's only because of a business retreat that I went to a few days ago, which was absolutely spectacular. And there was an amazing speaker there, Amelia Ryan, and who told us her story, which was incredibly raw. She just showed us a deeper level of vulnerability that I hadn't experienced or seen for a long time. And it was about telling your story, your real story, and how that is really, it's there to help others, and it's there to help heal you from the inside, but for others to feel safe to come to you for help. And, what I used to do to myself as a young girl and teenager, and, right up into my 30s and 40s, I think, was total disrespect, totally damaging, my body, really not valuing myself or my self-worth at all. And even now, the words are hard to bring forth, because I pushed it away. And I do want to work on that, and to be able to really, describe in detail, because that's part of my healing and letting go of how I felt back then. But essentially, and I keep chopping and changing because there's all this stuff coming into my mind. But this all started as a kid. And, this is the work that I do with people when I'm working with them. We go back to childhood. We go back to those first experiences and those first impressions that stay with us. And they affect us in many, many different ways. And for me, it was body image, self-image, and starting off, when I was going to school, I had flame red hair, like fire engine red hair, and I used to get called Fire Engine Red and Towering Inferno, and my mum made our clothes, and I wasn't the hippest girl in the school, glasses, freckles, and so I felt like I was on the back foot. I was bullied to some extent about the way of my appearance and how I looked, and I didn't fit in with the girls, the in crowd. And I went through primary school just being who I was, there was nothing amiss there in terms of an eating disorder. But it was when I went to high school that there was such a focus on body image and how you needed to look to be accepted, and that wasn't the language, of course, that we used as kids, but this is what I see to be true now. And it was all about how you looked, and I was by no means overweight. I was a fairly fit, athletic kid. I used to run a lot. I went to run training and swimming training and little athletics, all those kinds of things. But the way that I looked, the way that I thought that I looked wasn't the way that I wanted to look. And I noticed that others, the in crowd, the girls, the good looking, the pretty girls, they were always talking about, their weight or their flat stomach. And for me, it was really about the flat stomach. And I don't know why I focused on that bit. And there was a girl in my class, Marina, I think her name was, and she used to do, a Russian girl, she would do 100 sit-ups a day, and she had this washboard stomach, and it was like, oh, she's amazing in my eyes. I need to be like her. So I probably started doing 100 sit-ups a day. I remember I was more aware at that stage, talking to my mum and having memories of mum saying that she used to have this 22-inch waist, which is something like this. I don't know, it was ridiculously small, but that was important to her. So I thought that, well, that's got to be important, and to look good and feel good, or to look good, you had to be small and you had to have this perfectly flat stomach. So and I don't even know how this started, but in my young mind, I thought, right, well, when I eat food, my stomach pops out. So if I throw it up, it'll go back to flat. And that's where I started being, fully bulimic, and I would eat and throw up, and I remember a dentist saying to me one day, "Goodness, your tooth enamel is very eroded." So obviously the acidity from the gut acidity was starting to erode my teeth, and that was just what I did. I would look for an opportunity. I would wait. I would eat and I would wait. No one's around. I was living at home with Mum and Dad, and then I'd go to the toilet and I'd vomit, and I did that a lot, and it developed from there. And once again, I don't know where this started, but laxatives came into my awareness, and perhaps it was something I heard, something I saw. But I started using laxatives a lot, and once again it was all about ridding my body of food, so that I could look a certain way, so that I could be and feel a certain way. And looking back on this, it was all around, it was all learned behaviour. It was all what I viewed in in the culture that I lived and what other people valued. It wasn't certainly my values. I was trying to fit in. And so, I was probably borderline anorexic as well. I would eat very, very little food. In fact, I distinctly remember eating rice, a bowl of rice, grain by grain, with a bit of soy sauce. That was all I would have. And if I felt that I'd eat too much, I would go to the toilet and vomit it up. There was so much disrespect for my own body, and so little knowledge of valuing who I am or who I was as a human being. No knowledge of looking after myself and nourishing myself, and I suppose that was the journey that I was on back then, and even up until my 40s, it was really, I was no longer bulimic. I was still very food focused, and always worried about my weight, and I'm by no means an overweight person. but my perception, and it could also be almost body dysmorphia, that my perception is that was that I was overweight and I needed to be thin to be loved. And I think perhaps that's that could be the underlying thing, to be thin to be loved, and to be thin is important. But you know what? It's not. That's not what's important. What's important is who you are as a human being, who you are from the inside. It's not about the outside. And valuing yourself, your health, looking after you. And if you're not getting that love from externally, give it to yourself. And because we have the capacity to do that, to find our own love, self-love, and constantly looking for it is once again very much learned behavior. We see other people doing all sorts of things to feel loved or liked, or to please others so that they will like you. But and it's a hard journey, and it's a hard lesson learned. But eventually it can come around into a space where you just go, you know what? I'm important. I am who I am, and I love who I am. But putting to bed those demons and putting to bed those limiting beliefs is something that sometimes we need help with. And I suppose, through my journey of as being a personal trainer, but more so learning neurolinguistics, which is all about the language of the mind, NLP, I now see where all of this comes from, and I now can look back with more kindness and compassion, and no longer feel shame around it, and just go, you know what, that little girl was just reactive to her environment, and she's okay now. This is what it's so ironic that I teach women now how to look after their minds, how to look after their bodies. And there was no connection when I first started doing this kind of work. Another really ironic thing was when I was having a chat with Mum the other day, and I didn't tell her about what I was planning to do or talking about. And she doesn't know that I've had this this thing going on within me right from childhood, but. She said, I used to go, because she was struggling to understand what I do. And I said, I'm a hypnotherapist, Mum. And she said, I went to see a hypnotherapist when you kids were just young. And I said, what did you see them for? Because she said, because I thought I was fat. And I went, a light bulb just went, oh my God, my mum thought she was fat. She's not a big person. And she's not a big person. Her mum was, as she recalled, a stout person. I was just asking a few questions. My great-grandmother, she had said, was a very fat woman. And I know Mum has always been, she's so fat. She's, my body perception, from what I know now, and, what I've learned as working with emotions, all came from where my mum's headspace was at. No fault of her own. It's just that this is all learned behavior. It's seeped into my subconscious that I had to be not fat. I had to be a certain look, plus compounded with growing up at school and being the odd kid out and trying to fit in. And so, it all came full circle, and it started to make sense that my mum had her own sense of body dysmorphia. And I don't know, she says she can't recall ever having, any sort of eating disorder, but I think definitely some form of dysmorphia, judgment, worried about what other people think and about their size, and it has filtered through to me. So, all of that contributed to what I experienced and what my beliefs were at that stage. Now, obviously, I've done a lot of work with neurolinguistics, And I'm so much more accepting of who I am as a person. You know, my body shape, it goes up and down. You know, I'm hormonally, I know I'm not going to look like I did, you know, when I was a fit personal trainer at the age of 30. You know, that was 30 years ago. I'm a different person now, but I'm so much more accepting of who I am and how I look, and not trying to be something that I'm not. But goodness, you know, it took me probably 40 or 50 years to get to that space. And, you know, when I look at what I went through, I don't want anyone to spend 50 years struggling with this internal battle with their mind and their body, always worried about what they look like and how they should be, because it's debilitating, and that's a very mild word. It's destructive. It puts you into a place of where no one should be. But when you're not aware of it, when you go through life day to day, constantly in a battle with your own mind, with your own body, of course your body's going to react in a certain way, and it's going to be self-protective. It's just going to go into survival response. It's going to you know, create the stress hormones. That it might not be in your face stress, but it's all this underlying stuff. What do they think? How do I look? Oh, I'm too fat. I'm this, I'm that. Oh, my clothes are uncomfortable. Oh, they're looking at me. Why are they looking at me? You know, all of these things which we create in our own mind. And, you know, my goal is to be able to make peace, to help my clients to make peace with this. And I just got this beautiful email just this morning, and again, it brought tears to my eyes. And it was from one of my clients who, certainly not an overweight person, but very much struggling with, you know, what she should eat, when she should eat it, how she should eat, you know, how she looked. So much, you know, internal mental turmoil. And we worked for 6 weeks together, and she's just sent me an email this morning on the back of the blog that I wrote. And she said, you know, Suzanne, I'm away at the moment, and I've had colleagues, I'm working, and I've had colleagues come up to me and say, gee, you look so much more relaxed. And she said, you know, relaxed and comfortable. And she said, in no small way, that, well, in a big way, that was a part of the work, that was the work that we did to help her to just relax and not feel like she has to be in control, because this sense of having to be in control is just so hard, and it's just so it's almost, you know, akin to perfection, because we can never really truly be in control, but we can feel strong enough, we can have an inner strength, and we can look at things in a different perspective, to know that, okay, that, you know, we can stand up for ourselves, we can do what we need to do to get the things that we, you know, we want to get. But having to have this sense of control over everything is just too hard hitting. It's just too it's almost like, you know, the impossible dream. We would never be fully in control, we would never be fully perfect. But we can certainly set our intentions, we can do the best that we can do, we can back ourselves, and we can, you know, offer self-love and forgiveness, and a measure of trust and nourishment, trust and nurturing, that we can look after ourselves and our bodies, and we can face the day with a measure of strength and compassion and you know, intention to achieve the things that we need to achieve without using that big C word, because you know, that can lead to all sorts of other areas where it's just not possible to turn around as an easy fix or live in harmony. So, you know, she was just saying that she feels so much more at peace, and there is just you know, this leveling, this balance within her life now, without having to, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, you know. and letting go. And a lot of it is about just letting go of all that stuff, being the you that you are, the beautiful person inside. And so I suppose that's what I wanted to say. If anyone has got any questions or would like to share anything, I'm just going to scroll through the comments. No, nothing there as yet. But if you would like to reach out to me, and more than happy to have a chat, just to see what I could offer over the phone, any advice. If you wanted to find out more about how you can work with me, certainly ask me those questions. But I've got this Facebook group here. There's opportunity to work with me one-on-one. There's opportunity to work with me within a group. There's opportunity to work with me in another online group. So, if you feel like there's an area that you would like some help with, I would love to be able to help you. A lot of healing is in the listening, and I'm more than happy to listen, because, when you offload your story, it's a relief, really. It allows you to let go as a measure of that, and not hold on to it tightly. And often we can ask ourselves different questions. Is that true? Is that really true? Really pick yourself up on your internal language. Oh, thanks, Kerry. Thank you so much. That's lovely. Kerry said it. Thanks for sharing. It's so empowering. It's empowering. It's enlightening. It's relieving, I think, to be able to share. And I want to do a deeper dive within myself around this, and get the languaging around it, so that I feel this stuff, but it's difficult at this moment for me to give you a sense of how I was feeling. There's a lot of words that describe a lot of things, and I want to be able to resonate with women, so that they don't have to feel like, oh, she doesn't know what I'm talking about, or I want you to know that in a small measure I have walked in your shoes. Not everyone can say, well, I know what you feel, because we don't know truly what you feel, but we can hold your hand, and I can hold your hand and help you to walk through the mire and get to the other side. So thanks so much for listening. Thank you. And I will see you online. You can always email me, private message me, whatever feels right for you, but I'm more than happy just to have a chat and listen. All right. Have a great day, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Bye.